We have seen in the life of the Prophet himself how at Hudaybiyah he avoided conflict in order to spare human life. We have seen how at the death of the Prophet, Imam Ali withdrew from challenging the way in which the leadership of the community had been decided, in order that there should not be bloodshed within the community. Again, we see that at the death of Imam Ali, when he orders that there should be no mass retaliation against the community of those who killed him. We see the same repeated in the life of Imam Hussain when he withdraws from political power. And now we need to follow the same impulse in the life of Imam Hussain. As he responds to the challenge of Yazid, he will not give in, but he will attempt to seek a way which avoids conflict, which avoids unnecessary loss of human life. Imam Hussain decides that he is going to leave Medina and to move with his family to Mecca. He hears that the agents of Yazid have been delegated to come and find him in Medina, and if they find him there will surely be trouble. And so, before he leaves Medina, he goes to the tomb of the Prophet to pay his final respects there. And he receives a message in a dream. It is now made clear to him that his life is forfeit, that he is to die as a martyr in obedience to God. And what's more, that the lives of his family, including the lives of his children, will either be lost in martyrdom or that they will be taken into captivity. So from this moment onwards, the understanding of Imam Hussain, the enormity of the mission which has been given to him, becomes clear. This is a mission in which he must do his duty as leader, divinely appointed by God, and he knows that it will ultimately be at the cost of his own life and the lives of at least some of the members of his immediate family. And with this burden on his heart then, he gathers up all the members of his immediate family, and they set off together with some companions to leave the city of the Prophet in Medina and to go to the city of God in Mecca. What is the thinking then of Imam Hussain here? He is saying to himself, surely, if these men are in any way Muslims, servants of God, if they will not respect the city of the Prophet, surely they will respect the city of God, they will respect Mecca, they will not shed blood there. And so Imam Hussain and his company make the journey all the way down to Mecca. Now this is a journey, as it were, through bandit territory, because the forces of Yazid are now controlling so much of the Muslim hinterland, the Muslim lands, the Muslim community. And yet they make it through all the way to Mecca. And once Imam Hussain and his company arrive in Mecca, they live there openly as the grandson of the Prophet, as the spiritual guide to people. And as people come to him, he gives them some of his wisdom, some of his insight into the way in which they should live their lives. Imam Hussain lived openly and publicly in Mecca. He made Umrah, the small pilgrimage, on several occasions. He was seen to be praying at the Kaaba. People knew that he was there. But in the same way, the word spread back to the agents of Yazid. And it became known that they were moving toward Mecca for a confrontation with the Prophet. The season of Hajj arrived. Now it is of the very essence of the Hajj that at this time there should be no violence of any sort, not just against one another as human beings, but also against all animals, and indeed against vegetable life too. It is forbidden even as much as to pluck a flower during the Hajj. Such is the sanctity of this time. Such is the importance of these days of Hajj in the life of the Muslim community. The other thing, of course, about the Hajj is that it is the time of year when so many people are gathered in from all over the Muslim community, spread far and wide. They are coming to Mecca at this time in order to engage in the spiritual practices of the Hajj. This then has a profound impact on Imam Hussain. He knows that if there is an attack on his life during this time, there will be a huge reaction amongst the people, because the people will not tolerate to see the grandson of the Prophet killed in Mecca at the very time of the Hajj itself. People start to come to Imam Hussain to ask him what is he going to do. He of course says that he will not give in to the tyrant. That is the first and foremost thing. Although there are some people who said that, maybe he should give in. But that is not a possibility as far as he is concerned, because of his duty of leadership, because of his responsibility before God for the welfare of the whole community. But there are those who obviously wish him well, who tell him, go off into Yemen, go off into the hills, go out of Mecca, and those rugged places, there are castles there, you can hide in the hills until all this is over. But Hussain knows that Yazid cannot allow him to remain free and at liberty because of the danger that he will pose if he is not silenced. He knows also that he has had this vision that his life is forfeit. This is going to end in his martyrdom. Then there are those who come to Hussain and say, okay, whatever you are going to do, for goodness sake, leave your family here behind you. Now here is a very profound challenge. If Imam Hussain leaves his family behind, what is the chance that the agents of Yazid will respect them, will give them honor and dignity? What is the chance that they might be attacked? And who would be there then to protect them? It is the duty and responsibility of Hussain as the head of the household, as the father of his children, as the husband of his wife, that he should protect them. And therefore the thought of leaving them exposed in Mecca and going off on his own is just unthinkable to him. And again, he has received the vision that not only is his life forfeit, but also that some of his children will also see martyrdom, and that others will be taken into captivity. And so, surely with a heavy heart, but with complete trust in God, he knows that leaving them behind is not an option. Now the agents of Yazid arrive in Mecca, and the days of Hajj are approaching very shortly. And Yazid knows that he can then get his agents to mix with the pilgrims, dressed in pilgrim dress, and they will then have the opportunity to assassinate Imam Hussain. You can imagine that with such a huge throng of people, many of whom were unknown, there was every possibility for the assassin to approach close enough to Hussein himself and then to deal him the death blow. He knows that Yazid's agents have brought an army of people with them. And so even if they could find the assassin and they could deal with him, there would be murder and mayhem and bloodshed in the city of God at the time of the Hajj, the most sacred time of no shedding of blood, of no violence. It is clear then that the duty of Imam Hussain is to leave Mecca. Now Hussein has been receiving letters from Kufa in Iraq. Kufa, of course, was the city that stood by his father Ali at the Battle of the Camel, but it's also the city that blew hot and cold at the time of the Battle of Siffin. And so Hussein was not at all clear whether or not the letters of invitation that he received from Kufa would actually be honored by the people. The only way that he could test their goodwill was to send a trusted emissary there who would assess just whether they were truly faithful to their word. And so he sent Muslim ibn Aqil, his cousin, in order to suss out what really was the state of support in Kufa. There were some people in Mecca who were true and faithful to Imam Hussain. And so when Hussain left Mecca together with his faithful companions who had traveled with him from Medina, together with the members of his family, some other people from Mecca joined that group. Together they went out into the desert for the long journey in the direction of Kufa, which meant crossing over from modern-day Mecca all the way across to modern-day Iraq and the city of Kufa. This is to be a long and arduous journey. They are met on the way by some people who decide that they will throw in their lot and will join them. And so the company of Hussein swells by some of these other people on the road toward Kufa. He has escaped Mecca before any harm can come in the city of the Prophet, in the city of God, and he has gone into the desert in the hope that he can avoid conflict, in the hope that he will find support, true and faithful followers in Kufa who have been writing to invite him to come. With eyes wide open, with full trust in God, having committed everything, his own life and the life of his family and companions, he sets off into the desert to see whatever is to happen, whatever is to be.